So I posted a video the other day about the Ariana Grande concert bombing in Manchester, and sure as shit some conspiracy nut found his way here to voice his disdain for my skepticism.
What an idiot you are. Why do Americans always think that everything is about them? It was the general election due in Britain on June 8th. This will undoubtedly affect the outcome of it. Not that you looked into it or bothered about that. Doing a hit piece on an extremist nutter who reads what he wants into the numbers is not addressing or debunking the growing body of evidence that makes this event clearly not all the media purports it to be. However, I guess that's not a part of your agenda, is it? Did you do any research yourself? Of course you didn't.
Well, if by research he means did I look into it, then yes. If he means did I go out there into the field myself, well, no. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm a talking head for an op-ed channel.
Looks like you're selectively skeptical, as well as incredibly disrespectful to the people who died. Or do you not count them in your determination of the truth? You do believe that they actually did die, don't you? Guess you don't care if they aren't Americans. I'll skip through most of your video, as you're actually spotting more illogical bollocks than a nutty you're attempting to parody. You're an unfunny, disrespectful idiot who thinks he's clever, but clearly shows that he's not. Just another stupid American trying to be clever but failing, innit?
And to that I responded, I'm not actually American. Nice fact-checking, retard. I'm Canadian, although I do admit that sometimes I do lump all of the West into one entity when I'm talking about international politics. The point of the video is that this whack job hasn't provided sufficient proof to cast any serious doubt on the validity of what purportedly happened. And the guy in the video is claiming it's a false flag for war in the Middle East. I'm debunking his claim, and he didn't claim that this is tied to the upcoming election. Are you suggesting I debunk claims that weren't made? And if you are really suggesting this is a hoax to sway an election, may I suggest that this is the most convoluted and risky way to go about it? And all that assumption hinges on another unproven presupposition, that the event was a hoax. As a skeptic, I tend to side with Occam's razor.
You think I should research you? Well, at least I was right that you think it's all about you. Anyone using words like retard and whack job is usually either American or really wishes they were.
Keep in mind this hypocrite says this after calling me an idiot and the guy in the video a nutter. I decided to break my rebuttal into chunks. No, you don't need to research me, just pointing out that you make stuff up in your head and then believe it to be true, like a moron. You made no attempt to get your facts straight. Assumptions are fine with you, and that's probably why you believe that the bombing didn't happen. Lots of people use the word retard and whack job. Thinking otherwise puts you square in the realm of ignorance. So with your American bigotry aside, it seems like you're trying to be some kind of fascist moral fag and tell people what's acceptable to say. That doesn't fly here, bud.
The point of your video was try and make yourself look clever and amusing by doing zero research whatsoever and merely rabbiting some BS into your camera whilst trying to take the piss out of an individual. You were not really debating the validity of the evidence at hand on the subject he was, in turn, spouting about, but instead concentrated on his admittedly dumb obsession with numerology instead.
Keep in mind, this is the kind of bullshit that these people think is evidence.
A couple of Jewish crisis actresses here. This one reeks of agent, dark-rimmed Jewish glasses. Look at the smile on that one, eh? This one was immediately after the hoax.
I was really not debating the validity of the evidence at hand. Oh, really? You yourself said you skipped through most of the video, so how the fuck would you know about shit you didn't watch? Yeah, that's what I thought, bud. Clearly I pointed out the weakness of the guy's argument again and again. Numerology happens to be the most absurd bit, so it gets the most attention. Plus, he keeps bringing it up. But I made it clear to anyone with a brain damage that the lack of footage is not evidence of a hoax. Nothing but speculation is evidence, son.
You're doing it from the point of view of an American, thinking like an American. Hence my point about the British election. An example of your lack of research and your American-centric approach of debunking his views on the topic, as opposed to the actual evidence and context of the event. As a skeptic,
the fact I don't buy into your purely speculative conspiracy isn't the same as a lack of research, dumbass. I've heard everything you're saying before. It's bullshit. You act as if I somehow don't know about the general election. It's a moot point and thus wasn't included. I see no evidence that this is tied to the election, or that it would sway the results. Again, that's what we call speculation, and a post hoc motive.
You should have been looking at the evidence for the event actually having happened, as the media reported it. and trying to make sense of the inconsistencies and appalling behavior of their victims in relation to all of your good TV interviews, political rallies, hours and days after the deaths of their loved ones.
Well, I have seen the evidence, and although it may not meet your high standard here in the Pixar It Didn't Happen generation, I still think there's more evidence of it happening than not happening.
You also do not understand Occam's razor, by the way. Something being more likely because it's simpler as an explanation is obviously dependent on the simpler explanation being consistent with the facts and evidence at hand. You know, the ones you not looked at.
I don't understand Occam's razor. Gee, let's see. Islamic terrorist blows up in the name of jihad, or government creates elaborate and completely unnecessary and personally risky conspiracy to blow up its own people at a concert to achieve goals they've already reached. Occam's razor is about the idea that makes the least assumptions. Clearly, the latter is far more convoluted an idea, and at no point have you or anyone else provided a compelling argument or a shred of evidence that would suggest the official narrative is false. Your argument is about as convincing as flat Earth.
Oh, look. Now we know. You see, all these medium-sized hoax operations designed to put fake fear and trauma into the masses, the public, right? They make movies and series beforehand mocking you.
Also, do you understand the difference between a hoax and a false flag event? Did you consider both options?
Did I understand the difference between a hoax and a false flag? Did I consider both options? If you watch the videos, you know that the guy brings up both, and I addressed both. I considered both and found both to be lacking.
Effectively, all you've done is decided upon an opinion based on no research, using your own assumptions, based on ridiculous special pleading against the ramblings of an extremist conspiracy theorist. That is not you being a skeptic. That is you being a lazy cynic and poor researcher at best, and a disinformation propagandist at worst.
This is an op-ed channel. Of course it's going to be me spouting an opinion. And again, you assume I didn't do research simply because I didn't agree with your conclusion. I think you believe in this conspiracy because the so-called esoteric knowledge you possess makes you feel better as a person. Try questioning your own motives for your absurd clinging to this baseless conspiracy, because it's clearly not evidence-based. You just want it to be true. You have also not addressed the disrespect to the dead people that your weak use of logic has led you to decide are actually dead. Still, you get to pretend you look like Jesus, and take the piss out of a serious subject for cheap thrills, and a few likes by equally non-inquisitive bandwagoners. So, job done. I think you suggesting this is some sort of hoax or false flag is far more offensive to the dead than anything I said. Try going to the families of the deceased and spout your nonsense. I doubt they'll think you're being respectful. And I think it's obvious from my stats that I don't do this for likes. This is for posterity, so that when I'm dead, people will know who I was and what I believed in. Think of it as a digital tomb for my spirit to haunt. Not that I wouldn't mind having some more likes.
12 seconds later.
There's so much to address, and I must summarize my reply. The fact that lots of people use your childish words, add fag and dumbass to that, is less an argument to suggest my ignorance than it is to suggest that you and many others have a vocabulary that contains a tellingly large number of pejorative, homophobic, and deeply ignorant nouns. Your inability to see that is not my issue but yours. This narcissistic Harry Potter has a lot to say, so I cut up my response into chunks again. Did it ever occur to you that you're an overly sensitive baby of a human being? So how about you take your fascist language policing and join Thunderfoot and the other self-righteous douchebags in patting yourself on the back? Because the rest of us understand what a non-issue is. I can only imagine that watching Undoomed or Kraut and Tea would trigger a delicate flower such as yourself into a rage-induced seizure. The point you tried to assert is that using those words makes me an American. And that not only isn't true, but reveals your bigoted bias and penchant for stereotyping. And don't forget that you were the one who called me an idiot first, so childish insults are okay when you do it? Nice hypocrisy, bud. I skipped through your video after your first three poor and self-congratulatory deductions, way before you laid into his numerology bias. Also, you don't seem able to differentiate between what I say/believe and what you assume I say/incorrectly deduce from what I say/misrepresent what I say. Well then I guess you need to work on your communication skills. I didn't watch the video, but I'll still express half-witted opinions about it. Good job, son. Your psychic powers must be on point to criticize a video you didn't fucking watch. Your attempt to cover your ignorance of the significance of the British general election in relation to a key terrorist event in the UK by suggesting it a moot point just a couple of weeks before it shows just what American-centric you are, and only goes to reinforce my point that you don't know or analyze much outside of your American-centric viewpoint. You're assuming the two are connected. Please cite to me your evidence that they are connected. Oh, what's that? You can't because you don't have any? Well, that's a fucking shame. What you're doing is called speculation, and intelligent people don't regard that as factual. Here's an example of your faulty logic. 9/11 happened at the same time as the Hamilton municipal by-election. Therefore, the mayor of Hamilton caused 9/11. Solid logic, bud. You're truly moving the logical fallacy territory by ignoring what I said about the validity of any theory being tied to the validity of the evidence that supports it.
Dark-rimmed Jewish glasses.
Too difficult a concept to grasp, perhaps? Your mention of flat earth is as contrived and inconsequential as your patronizing Jesus gimmick upon which you base your poorly received video. I would agree, if there was any concrete evidence, but there isn't. You could easily prove me wrong if you had any, but the fact you can't cite any goes to show you're nothing but a pseudo-intellectual blowhard exaggerator. You clearly don't understand the difference between a false flag and a hoax event. Thanks for confirming. Could it be that you're an idiot that makes things up about strangers on the internet and then believes it? I know the difference. A false flag is when a government stages an event to rile up the public against an enemy. A hoax is when the event never actually occurred at all. And if you weren't an illiterate moron, that would have been clear when I mentioned the Gulf of Tonkin incident. I've also explained already that the guy who made the original video was the one flip-flopping between hoax and false flag. Maybe try watching the original video next time, dipshit. You didn't do enough research. Your research conclusions suit your beliefs, not the evidence of the context that requires a wider understanding that you cite/gave it. Only fitting that you then go on to accuse me of the failings that you exhibit yourself. Oldest trick in the illogical bastard's book. No, you didn't do enough research. You made something up in your own head and then believed it like it was factual, as evidenced by your assertion that there is evidence but your inability to produce any. Then you likely went on the internet and found some crackpots that confirmed your bias and disregarded anything that didn't fit your narrative. And suit my belief? I'm a nihilist. I don't believe in anything. I have no dog in this fight either, aside from my basic human compassion for the victims. All that matters is what can be proven. You, nor anyone else, has proven that this attack was anything but what it was presented as, a jihadist suicide bombing. Again, where is this evidence you speak of? I scoured the internet before making this video and I saw absolutely nothing that backs up your claim, bud, aside from speculation from other crackpots. You've made it abundantly clear that you're the one with a preconceived bias, and you're dumb enough to conflate speculation with evidence. I hope you're never on a jury. You accused me of being offensive to the dead. I assume you meant to the relatives of the dead. Well, you dress up as Jesus and spray your ignorance and ego all over the place by acting like you know the score, and take the piss out of others who only want to get the truth out of the matter, no matter how delusional they are, in order to make yourself look cool and sassy, whilst being lame and attention-seeking. Instead of taking this self-aggrandizing and completely inappropriate moral high ground, try being a normal person for a moment and imagine just how flippant and offensive you are with your stupid video to the relatives of the dead. Looks like you crapped out in every way, really. Take my advice and go do something else. You believe people died, yet you openly disrespect them. P.S. Any reply you make, I assume you will delete this anyway, will only be read by you and a margin of few, so I assume your vanity will push you to deletion rather than you spending time on creating a reply that will fail to address the above. It depends what you want to see for posterity, I guess. You mad, bro? I just threw your insult back at you because you're the one being disrespectful. I don't dress up as Jesus. I looked like this long before making the channel, and that's how I came up with the name. And you don't actually think Jesus was real, do you? That's cute. Looks like you crapped out, says the absolute nobody whose opinion doesn't matter. The guy in the original vid wasn't searching for truth. He's trying to dupe fools like yourself into watching his videos so he can make money. And how do you figure I was disrespectful to the dead? Please cite where that happened. I'll give you a hint, it didn't, and you're insane. I may be blunt, but the only disrespect in that video is towards the bombing deniers. Are you suggesting that me saying that the victims of a terrorist attack were killed in a terrorist attack is somehow offensive to the dead? But you claiming that it's all a big gag by the government isn't? Like I said before, go spout your nonsense to the victims' families and see how quick one of them pops you in the mouth for being disrespectful. P.S. I never delete anyone else's comments unless they're obvious spam. Why would I deny my fans the chance to laugh at your insane ramblings? Especially after I've taken the piss out of every last one of your arguments. You've been a great source of entertainment, and I think I'll be leaving this right where it is.